What is the fastest you have ever gone from meeting someone to seeing them naked? NSFW.
Like and subscribe, or else these'll be in your bed tonight.
2 hours. My best friend came in from out of town and had some errands to run / people to see right after he dropped off his stuff. Well, along with all that stuff, he dropped off a girl that was traveling the country with him. She was tired and decided to curl up on our couch, and I decided to just put on some Netflix and follow suit. Well, she started cuddling up with me, and upon putting my arm around her, mind you, I have never met this girl and this is going way off on a branch for me. My hand comes to realize that she is wearing no underwear and has already removed the shorts she had on. This was completely an accident, and I never make moves this fast even with someone I've known. Well, as it happens, this girl was clearly just dying for the D, because the second she realized that she was naked under that blanket, she just throws it off and starts giving me the bees. Don't think the story to follow is relevant to the topic, but there you have it. 2 hours from learning her name, I got to see her sweet lady junk. I was fishing one night in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and was walking back to my truck. I passed by a balcony with about 5 drunk 60-year-olds on it. As I passed, one of the men yelled, "Hey kid, watch this. Show 'em hun." Then his 60-year-old wife flashed me. God, those were some horrifying pickle tits. Not me, but a friend of mine who at the time wasn't too good with women saw a pretty girl at the bar we were at. He was kind of depressed, mostly due to the fact that he couldn't get laid. Me and the other friend we were with were egging him on to go talk to her for around 10 minutes, and finally, his mope clears up, and he defiantly walks over. Now honestly, we were expecting him to get shut down, and only treating it as an exercise of sorts. But he walks right up to her, says one line, she laughs, and next thing we know he's headed out of the place with her in tow. The next day, we of course asked him what he said, and apparently, it was, "If we go back to my place, I'll eat you out for at least 2 hours. I'm not fucking joking. An hour. A couple of people I had met on a night out tried to set me up with their housemate. I went over to their place the next day. We sat outside for a bit and chatted. We had an amazing talk about all sorts of random stuff. Then, before I knew it, we were tearing each other's clothes off. Although we rushed into being together from meeting each other incredibly quickly, she was hands down the nicest, most polite, friendliest girl I've ever gone out with. The relationship lasted a solid 1.5 years, quite long for my usual relationship, and, although we don't talk now, I wish her nothing but the best of luck in the future, and that she's totally happy whatever she ends up doing. Edit. You guys are being added to my bad day comments. Whenever I'm having a shitty day, I'm just going to look back on all the nice things you've said. D. You've totally put a big cheesy grin on my face. About 45 minutes. I worked at a bar, and I was off for the evening, so I came in for a few discounted drinks. This girl who was there, a friend of a friend, had apparently been eyeing me for a while, and so we talked for a bit, and then went across the street to my place. Clothes came off pretty much right when the door closed. Maybe 3 hours. Met some girl in college who was a friend of my buddy's GF and was staying the night at his apartment in a vacant bedroom. I was also staying, and as I believe there was no other available furniture on which to sleep, I crashed on the floor of the room she was in. We made some small talk. I don't remember who said what, that resulted in my climbing into bed with her and cuddling, then making out, then having sex. Another instance of about the same amount of time. Met a girl at a social function. She was pretty chill and started hanging out with my group of friends, and we all went back to my place to hang out for a while, and when everybody else left, I turned around and she was still there. It took me approximately a millisecond to realize that we were going to get it on, and we did. The fastest time was when I went to hang out with a friend and his group of friends from work. We sit down to play a drinking game and this girl sits in my lap. About 3 hours later, I'm back at her place with her on top of me. Another time this girl came up to visit one of my friends in college. I was going through a self-discovery type deal and had taken on a fuck why not mentality. This came out while we were all hanging out in the form of me acting a bit dickish and using an intentionally bad accent. Don't ask me how it started, I don't know. Anyways, what ended up happening was she needed a place to crash. I offered up my couch and she accepted. We got back to my place and I said pretty bluntly, "You don't want to sleep on the couch, do you?" She said nope, and we got into my bed. Total elapsed time 7 maybe 8 hours. Freshman year of college, I met a girl of Asian ethnicity who was from Sweden. We met, hit it off and about, and hour later ended up in her bed watching a movie. We didn't watch much of the movie, needless to say. Well, right in the middle of the deed, her roommate walked in on us. What should have been an incredibly embarrassing moment was for some reason not at all. They casually greeted each other, as if this was nothing new. The roommate then proceeded to walk over and introduce herself. Weirdest handshake of my life. A few hours later, not sure how, but I hooked up with the roommate. We all ended up being good friends, and the Swedish girl ended up marrying one of my best guy friends. TL. Doctor, meet girl. An hour later mid-doggy meet her roommate. A few hours after doggy roommate. It's been several years, but I used to do this thing I called the cold call. I did it 4 times, and it worked twice. You simply go up to a girl at the bar and ask, hey, would you like to have sex? One took a big swig of her drink and just said okay, minus 15 minutes. The other got mad at first, then started to say that while crude. It was admirably honest. Long, awkward car ride with her and her friends. 35 minutes. The other 2 were not pleased at all. No slaps or drinks in the face though. When I traveled to New York in the summer of 2008, I took a liking to one of the girls who worked in the Ralph Lauren store on Madison Avenue. I asked her for some advice on a pair of trousers I was interested in, and she was very forthcoming and easy to talk to. I ended up spending an hour with her in the store alone, talking about all manner of things, and 30 minutes later, I was walking her home from work after her shift. As we walked into her flat, now around 2.5 hours since meeting, we began to kiss. The kissing led to the removing of clothes, and I was soon laying on her bed, nursing my pre-coital boner, watching her strip. She straddled me and sat atop my chest. She proceeded to crane her body down and whisper into my ear, can I shit on your neck? Even though I initially thought she was jesting, I was still a little taken aback and laughed it off. She then asked me again, and before I could say anything in response, I saw her left leg rise and a turtle's head crown from her anus. What happened was so out of left field, such was my shock, that my boner actually imploded. I pushed her off me, fired a couple of expletives at her, grabbed my clothes and power walked the fuck out of there. Rather than waiting for the lift, I ran down the 10 flights of stairs and didn't dress until I reached the safety of the pavement. No explanation was ever given, but I'm still friends with her on Facebook. 25 minutes. I was roped into helping a friend of a friend move. I didn't know the guy. We got to the house and were greeted with some already opened bottles of wine that the couple, who was moving, had already started on. No glasses. Straight from the bottle, hobo style. Less than a half hour into the ordeal, I was walking down a hallway when a door to my left opened, and I was pulled into a dark empty room. The girlfriend of the guy we were helping was completely naked and started vigorously trying to undo my pants. She was really hot, and I was completely caught off guard. She proceeded to give me the greatest blowjob ever in the history of mankind. After she was done, she put my junk away for me, looked up at me, and said we better get back to work. Those were the only words spoken, and I never saw them again. Literally a couple of minutes. I was at a party and most of the people were sleeping over. The party was in some construction area, so most people brought inflatable beds. I did not, because fuck it. One group set up shop in one of those sea containers that was standing there, so I walked in and yelled, in whose bed can I sleep tonight? One girl said mine. So I got in bed with her, hands went places, and before I knew it, we moved the bed to an empty container to get acquainted. Fun fact, one of my best friends has been dating that very same girl for years now. They're living together and everything. In the earlier days he didn't like it very much that I had been there before either.